Okay, let's go.
It's time for Be Picked. When you're ready to move from clicks to clients, learn to be picked.
Welcome to another episode of Be Picked, the podcast where we talk with professional service providers about how to build their businesses and use all the new tools and technologies that are out there today. I'm your host, Andrew Colsky, and today we have Mason McCumber. He is founder of M&M Solutions, and he's going to be talking with us all about all sorts of things I'm sure you don't know about AI, and by the end of this podcast, you will know. So Mason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for having me on.
So we're really glad to have you here because obviously AI is such a huge thing these days and confusing, and people don't know what to think about it or what to do with it or how it impacts them or if it impacts them. So let's start off the show with one of the questions that I get all the time. When someone is trying to get themselves known and get out there on the internet through social media, websites, whatever it is, the big question is SEO versus AI search. What's the difference? Is SEO dead? What do I need to do for AI? Can you give us a little bit of background about what is the difference? How do they all work? And what are we expecting in the future?
Yeah, SEO and AI search are definitely a little bit different in how you want to be cited and how you want to be found. But ultimately, a lot of the AI search comes down to traditional SEO. And we've seen this time and time again. If you brand yourself as just doing AI search and not working on traditional SEO, those people inevitably underperform and have problems sustaining and delivering results to customers. So SEO is AI search, but you have to be targeting different search terms on SEO. So AI is using Google the same way you are, it's just not Googling the same things you are. So that's the difference. You have to be for the right terms that AI is searching, but ultimately it's looking at all of the places real users are at. It's looking on Google, it's looking on Reddit, it's looking on Trust Index, it's looking on real places that you should be showing up with traditional SEO, but it's just tweaked on the actual terms. And if you can capture the actual terms that they're searching, then that's how you actually show up in front of customers in AI. The only other thing to consider with that is a lot of people don't use the same strategy for AI search and getting cited there as they want to for a traditional web page and getting that shown on somebody's screen.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So tell us a little bit more about that, the strategy, because, old school SEO was find all the terms that people typically search for, make sure you have those properly embedded in your website and the things that you talk about. And then when they search for something with that term, theoretically, you pop up. So tell us more about what you mean now today.
You have to largely shift your strategy to the intent of where the customer is. So if you do traditional SEO, you can get them to go to your web page, and then obviously after they read a bunch of content, they will kind of go to the end and then follow the natural progression of booking a call or doing some sort of service with you. Now you have to be in multiple different places and answering a lot more questions and putting out more things for AI to reference for it to ultimately be valuable. You have to add a bunch of stuff to the kind of like top of the funnel and still have the website and do your traditional SEO that are like real user terms that you search up, because just AI searches up different things than humans. So you just have to add a bunch of the top of the funnel stuff and even tailor it specifically to the questions of AI that this isn't an article or a page that a lot of people are going to read, but it's important for AI. And it's just a lot of the super easy questions. You just want to be referenced in that, And then whenever somebody ultimately makes the final buying decision, you want to have all of the other stuff in place for you. You want to have really good reviews across all of the different platforms. You want to be known in your specific industry. But fundamentally, it comes down to adding a lot more at like the top of the funnel, because there's a lot more initial questions people can ask when you have the expert come in whatever industry you're in. In the past, some of the questions people wouldn't ask the same because they know they're going to an expert and you're just going to kind of take care of it for them. People are beginning to ask more of those questions, those beginning questions, and wanting to understand the process more, and they can with AI. Inevitably, if they don't do the service themselves, it's fine, but you have to be there and be shown in those initial searches to have that be an option.
So with that, then let's talk about fill us in on old school. You create a website. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but typically people create a website, take an attorney, they create a website about their legal practice. They put in information about themselves, their degrees, what type of cases they've worked on, all this stuff about their own credibility type of things. And then they go out and they hire someone to make it all SEO pretty, and then they sit back and pray that people are going to come and call them and hire them.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now you hear a lot about, well, if you're going to be attractive to AI search, you need to be putting in a lot of content, questions and answers related to the types of questions that people are typing on their phone at 3 a.m. when they're laying wide awake. What's the truth behind that, and what do people need to be thinking about?
Yeah, no, you have to you have to you have to be answering the questions to be kind of cited in there. If ultimately AI is leading to more people asking questions, we need to be thinking, oh, okay, I want to be the answer for all of them. But the problem is, you really have to be answering a lot of questions. So there's no easy way of cheating it in that aspect. If you want to be really cited in everything and continue to push more, the information gap is still there. It has to have some level of information to kind of use AI and judge off of how AI works. But ultimately, we do need to be answering those specific questions. Those 3 a.m. questions are so minuscule in the like actual full process. Like there's a reason before this they wouldn't necessarily look at them, but now it's changed so much, and it's actually makes sense to have that a part of your strategy. Like these questions that you thought you wouldn't have to answer in 10 years, like is there safe ways to do specific things in your practice, or how to handle certain types of cases, those things that should be intuitive, you have to answer down to the smallest level. And that's the kind of the way that you do that. You really have to be answering a lot of these questions and be on top of it. It's more and more. You can't just kind of set back. There's been a time in SEO where you could just go hire someone depending on your domain authority and your connections with your communities. You would just be able to kind of run for a long time. It's not the case anymore. You have to be on top of it now. It's back in the heart of my time. I'm a tech in SEO, and I'm honestly constantly crafting stuff. So it's perfect for me. But if you're not, as a business owner, it's very difficult.
Right, right. And to tie back into something that you said earlier, I want to make sure I got this right. So let's say again, let's pick, you're an attorney. We'll pick a divorce attorney in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay. So we have a particular type of law in a particular location. And this person is listening to this podcast and they say, oh, let me go and I got to update my website and I got to start putting in questions and answers and things about common problems, not just, my degree and my office location. And in order for someone like that to effectively be found or give themselves the best opportunities to be found, it sounds like it's not just a matter of putting content on your website that is relevant to the types of questions that people who are getting divorced asked, but also multi-platform, having a YouTube channel, having a blog, being on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, no, you really have to be pushing more different aspects. I think that's a key thing that AI is having trouble. AI can see so much content and so much information in a short amount of time. It's in your best advantage to definitely be found in multiple different places, but you need to be answering non-super high buyer intent questions for AI. Not every There are specific search terms in SEO that someone will search up, like how much does a divorce lawyer cost? That is a super high value and kind of intent search. Like you understand that if someone's searching that up, they're probably going through a divorce. But you need to answer other questions like when should I start thinking about a divorce? Um, what is early signs that I should get a divorce? Those are questions that don't have a clear intent that they need that service right now.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, those are more questions that AI will kind of force people into. That those are the real questions that start the process, and then once they're using you as a source for that, they'll use you as a source for all of the other information as well. So that's part of that game there.
Mm-hmm. So that really means that it's a part of a full-time job as an attorney if you're going to be marketing your practice either by yourself or having someone do these pieces of it, is consistently putting out additional content that's focused on what are the common questions that my ideal client would be asking at 3 a.m. and let me provide some content related to that. Now, obviously, we're not talking about giving specific legal advice to a particular person's issue, but we're talking about divorce in general, like you had some questions, or you know what do I need to do to make sure that I keep my house? How am I going to make sure that I have custody of my kids? Do I get to keep my car? These are questions that people have and they want to know. And they're not just going on the web and saying, I want to hire a divorce attorney. They're searching things. And now, you go onto Google and then you get at the bottom of your search, you get that people also ask, and then it gives a whole bunch of, and then people get kind of sucked into that. They want to know that too. So, if you're going to be the professional who's owning that niche, you got to be answering all those types of questions. And the good part of it, and this is why I gave an example of, a divorce attorney in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, because you can focus on a very small market. If I go onto YouTube and I look up divorce attorney, I'll find this massive number of people. But if I look up divorce attorney in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who handles child custody issues, I'm probably going to find a much smaller number of people.
Yeah, no, definitely be smart with your target addressable market. Definitely, people need to start thinking about, especially with AI and LLMs, like your specific schema and your markup in your actual website. So the really unfun, not pretty, boring stuff, like the actual code behind your website that tells them where the location is, what specific services you offer, all of the really, really boring stuff, and even making a file called llms.txt. It basically is a text file that you put on your website. LLMs is a large language model, which is ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Claude. All of those specifically use this as like a point of reference that they're going to start using more once they begin to start citing you. So once your website starts being found and starts being cited, they'll use that as really good context and information. So you have to put your location in there, and then you really have to adjust it in your schema. So your content definitely is going to the right people. I think a lot of people have failed to do that, and that's been a really big issue here recently.
Hmm. So, you know, all of this seems almost impossible to keep up with because AI is changing so fast, daily. And we've got people who are just trying to run their practice and they're really busy with that. And they got to deal with accounting and they got to deal with, you know, clients and the work and everything else. And now we're saying to them, hey, there's a whole other world that you need to learn a whole lot of stuff about. What do you see sort of like where we are today and what's coming in terms of what professional service providers should be thinking about? How does this impact them a year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now?
Yeah, I think there will be a a shift in how content and media is done. Even if you're not a bigger practice, I think there will be more content and more media from smaller individual people. So whether that's content on your website or whether that's just information here on like a podcast like we're on today, I think the small business owner has has thought media and putting stuff out and doing certain things there and not just working in their practice was kind of a bigger business thing. Like I don't have $1 million to go get a professionally shot ad and all of the other fun stuff. I don't have time to sit down and do media. Um, More and more there will be small business owners in whatever niche that you're thinking about that will be consistently putting out media. And I think a lot of lawyers um, and people in these spaces will become content people as well. It will be a kind of integral part of the strategy. Um, and I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. If you've ever read "Everyone is a uh, Everyone is a Writer," that would be something good for everyone to look into.
Okay. So, all right. So then answer this for me. We've got, let's talk chiropractors. We've got two chiropractors. Chiropractor A listens to this episode. They say, oh, wow, I really need to pay attention to this stuff. They start updating their website, filling it with questions and answers. They create a YouTube channel. Maybe they even start their own podcast. They've got blogs. They've got multi channels going that they're putting information out. That's chiropractor A. Chiropractor B says, oh my God, that is so overwhelming. There's no way. That would be a full time job. I never get my work done. I can't do it. I'm just going to go buy Google Ads. What's the outcome for A and B?
The outcome is definitely different. Short term, obviously, this is the part on a lot of people that sell services like SEO, kind of like people that are in my position. Um, Ads and SEO just happens so differently, and I think people have failed to truly explain that to professional services people. Um, People call themselves a marketer, but it's a lot different than what you think. If you think a marketer, you're thinking telemarketer. He's calling right now, and he's going to go hopefully make that sale or do different things here. SEO just takes a lot longer. So you're thinking about really um, putting in a foundation for the building. You can start building the building without digging in 3 feet deep and filling it with concrete and then building it up from there. So Google Ads starts from day one on the ground level and you just start building the building up from there. The problem is if you don't put concrete into your building, you can only get so far and so high in that building before you really start seeing issues and cost per click and cost per acquisition really start to go up. And then that building really starts to fall. And you'll never be able to get past a certain point because you didn't dig in and put that concrete in whenever you first started. But it's a timeline and expectation thing from people in my industry that tell people if I if I start doing SEO next week, you're just going to be #1 on Google, and there's nothing that I can't do to promise that. It's a guarantee. I got you. Don't even worry about it. I'll give you $1,000,000. Just pay me $1,000 right now, and like in 2 weeks, you're gonna be a millionaire, man. Just trust me. I think that is a key problem with marketing, and I think a lot of people have have failed to realize what is too good to be true. It's if it
Well, they
really.
find out after the money's out of their wallet.
Yes, yeah, no. It's very, 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 very hard to say ads won't immediately give you some results. Like if you set up ads correctly, you get results pretty close to day one. You're literally paying for people to see your stuff, and you're gonna do pretty well immediately. You're gonna start building that you're building immediately. And I think that's really, really nice for a lot of people. The problem is a lot of people need to be doing both. You need to build two buildings. You could also run Google Ads and do SEO. I think that's the key way there. And a lot of the insights from Google Ads also apply to SEO. So if there's a specific term that you want to show up for, like divorce lawyer or anything in that, or chiropractor, or just any of these professional services, you should be bidding for it on paid ads as well as putting out SEO content. So start building one building that you know eventually won't scale to the moon. At the same time, you're building the other building. So that's nice if you have somebody else to do it with you, or just plan to do that from the beginning. You can start your practice or start whatever you're doing and start running Google Ads now and see, actually, you can kind of get a good gauge where if you're getting a lot of traffic for something, but you're paying too much, you can focus more on that on SEO. Or if you're getting no traffic for something, and it doesn't cost a lot, if you put out just one or two blog posts for that, you maybe not even need to bid on that term. Like it might not even be worth it, but you can just target it with some SEO. But I feel like those are overlapping a little bit. There's definitely a lot of stuff in the aspect of people misleading with the marketing space, but that's neither here nor there. I think people should do both.
Right, right. So tell me if I'm on track with this statement. I liken Google Ads and content building as gambling versus investing. Gambling, Google Ads, meaning you pay up front, you put money in when someone clicks that button. A very small number of people who click that button are actually going to contact you, and then a very small number of the people who contact you are going to be truly qualified leads that turn into a particular client. But it does get you that visibility. It doesn't necessarily get you hired, it gets you visibility. The other side, when you're building content, it's like investing, because every piece of content you put out is pretty much evergreen, meaning that the more you put out, the more that's out there, and it tends to grow on itself. So you're building a practice. You're not getting a quick flash in the pan, click on a link. So it takes more time, like you said, but it takes time to build a good, solid foundation and a good, solid house that's going to last 100 years. Doesn't take much time at all to put up a pop-up tent in your backyard that lasts for, a couple weeks before it starts to deteriorate and blows away and falls apart, and you got to go do it again. So that's kind of how I look at it. Am I on track?
Yeah, no. A lot of people confuse that pop-up tent for a house. I think you nailed it right on the head there. That it's a little bit more sure than gambling, but it really can be. Most of the ways that people are doing it, especially without help, it can be gambling, and that's very unfortunate. And I think there's definitely still a lot of room, even with AI and all of these tools that are out right now. They can analyze like your ads accounts and kind of give you some recommendation. But there is a lot of lived experience, a lot of money that a marketer has put in to really truly understand what is kind of going on in that aspect. But people on the daily, they confuse a pop-up tent for a home, and it burns them every single time. It's 110% true that if you just bank on paid ads for the foreseeable future, paid ad costs will only go up as more and more businesses use it. Um, and and even funny enough, a lot of people are starting to use their free content, finding out what works on free, and then turn that into an ad. Because ultimately what you're paying for with these ads is guaranteed visibility. So if you can find something that you know works, it works amazing, and you have content that is awesome, why not put your best, most valuable content in front of people and guarantee eyeballs on something that you know already attracts people and you know works extremely, extremely well? I think a lot of people are too far apart. It's either only this or only that, and I think there's a lot of time there where you can really put kind of some media behind your really great stuff that you have, and then take that, and a lot of the ads now are not just traditional let's get hired and go there, but you can even put ads behind some of the content stuff now if it's very difficult to have your stuff be shown number one. But that's ultimately a really, really good option for somebody if they have really good stuff out there. Even pushing some of your organic stuff with ads is important. It's awesome.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, all of this is really helpful because everything in this discussion, addresses a lot of the common questions that I see people have or that people ask me. But you're also an expert with AI in a much broader sense in terms of all the different types of tools and things out there. Now, we have about 5 minutes left on this podcast, so we may have to have you come back for another episode to get into that. But in the 5 minutes that we have, can you give us a sort of an overview of the things that you're aware of that are out there that are really beneficial for professional service providers and just things for them to start thinking?
Yeah, I'll just call a little awareness to what's going on and what's out right now. So there are new AI tools out called agentic AI tools, and what that inevitably is a tool that doesn't just answer a question, but kind of does something. If you can imagine an analogy here, like you're a heavy haul trucking operation. So you got your big 18-wheeler and you're the driver. You're sitting in the driver's seat. And what you do actually is you make all of the left and the right turns. So you're both an owner and an operator. You got to think about getting from point A to B, as well as like when you get to that stop sign, you got to make your left. You got to make your right. You got to make all of those turns to make sure you get to your final destination. A lot of these new agentic AI tools that are out and coming are allowing people to kind of step out of that driver's seat. And then everyone is now just a dispatcher. So how you tell people in your organization and how you plan your heavy haul trucking operation is a lot different than how you make all of those left and right turns. You tell it intelligently, hey, go from point A to point B, and you say, don't go up on that rocky mountain cliff, don't make 4 left turns in a row to make sure you don't go in a circle, and you give it some guidelines, but that's ultimately where people are going to shift as AI gets better and things happen here. Those are going to allow people to kind of step out of the driver's seat. So if you want to use OpenClaw and you want to use a lobster, or you want to use Claude and you want to use a crab, or you want to use ChatGPT and you use the Vortex, that is exactly how that works. So OpenClaw is now your driver, and you can use that with whatever engine, or you can use like a Codex or a Claude Code, and Codex is ChatGPT's version of agentic AI. The only thing that's different is the engine on that has to be paired with like a ChatGPT Vortex engine, and then Claude Code, if you have their Crab, obviously you're going to pair that with like a Claude engine for your trucking operation. But a lot of people should be focusing on how to plan and how to orchestrate stuff with that in mind. Trying to just give it a goal from point A to point B, and it really can get super far. But a lot of people are going to be shifting to that instead of only doing all of the left and the right turns. A lot of people got to step out of the driver's seat and let people take a look at what's out here and give it a goal and see how far it gets.
Wow. You know, this discussion certainly could go, long, far, and deep because there's so much to learn about it. But the very first thing that strikes me about it is, I go to conferences and I just hang out with friends and things, and I constantly hear this, oh my God, AI is going to take all the jobs and everybody's going to be out of work, and, doomsday is coming and all these things. And based on what you're saying there, the number of new jobs that I just thought of in terms of people who need to be able to do this work that you were just describing, using AI to create these processes, to do all the, it comes back to the same thing. When cell phones first came out, you may not be old enough to remember that, but when cell phones first, the world was going to end because everything was different. When email first came out, the world was going to end. When the internet came out, the world was going to end. And the world never seems to end. It just creates a whole bunch of new, different types of jobs for people to do. So, I was sharing with a family member just yesterday. I said, I'm using AI for a lot of things because it helps me do a lot of things. But one thing that I found currently about AI is when I get into more of the creative stuff, it's not there because it's only using information that exists. And yes, it can synthesize it. And yes, it can do some things. But I've fallen flat constantly when I get into any sort of creative thinking type of models. Now, it's also possible I'm not using it correctly, but I find a shortcoming there.
Yeah. No, there's some interesting stuff and actually research and literature. So um, all of these AI models are having a convergence now. So they are all kind of using the same information and kind of outputting in the same sort of style. So even if you use a model that's in China, not even in the United States, not even in Canada, not in Mexico, not even in the EU, they're actually taking information from ChatGPT and making their model by sending a million requests to ChatGPT, figuring out how ChatGPT responds to stuff, and then they just clone it, and that's how they do their DeepSeek, that model, those Chinese models. That's how they're made. They're saving all of this money in compute and the learning aspect by just copying it. But the problem is we get so many results that are way, way, way too similar to each other. And it's very hard, especially in like the writing step. I would really heavily encourage people to be mindful on how much AI they use on their content, because it can catch you sometimes, especially uh, with the new stuff that's coming out from Google, like even this month. If you're using too much content with AI, you will get caught and it's going to hurt your brand and SEO. But they're training their models off of current existing models, and that's ultimately going to cause them to be less and less creative over time and give you like a standardized output. But that's really hard for the creativity aspect.
Yeah, yeah. And so, some listeners may have heard this, some maybe not. The concept of human in the loop, whereas humans using AI to help them do certain tasks, but maintaining that human review, control, etc. So if you're generating content, there's one thing where somebody just generates content and throws it out there. There's another thing when someone generates content, which is a draft, they then tweak it to match their own needs. Then they, do something further with it. So but it becomes fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier as the days goes on, because even if you were someone out there who didn't want to use AI, well,
Good luck.
too late, because everything you do every day is already using it. You just don't know it, but it's using it. So, anyways, we are out of time. So let me do this. If somebody wanted to follow you and learn more from you, how do they find you?
A great place to kind of check me out is on LinkedIn. I'll continue to keep everyone updated with specific things that are out there and tools, and I have a bunch of resources actually posted on there as well as like my personal page. So you can check me out on LinkedIn at Mason McCumber, MASON MCCUMBER. check me out there, or if you want to check out our website, you can check us out at buildwithmm.com.
Excellent.
A bunch of
Excellent.
resources on our blog, and there's a bunch of tools even specifically for AI. Anyone that kind of felt like that hit home for them, check out some of the stuff on our blog, and you'll find some really good stuff.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join me today and share all of this information with our listeners. And we may have to set up a time to have you back to dive into this next part. But for now, we're way out of time. I'm Andrew Colsky, your host here on Be Picked. Each week we put out a new episode. Join us at www.bepicked, which is BE-PICKED.com, and learn all about all the good information we put out to help you build your business for the long term. We'll see you on the next episode. If you are enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.